Today's episode is brought to you by Patreon. If you're interested in supporting the show, go to patreon.com/JoshuaVelas and become a $2 backer today and get early access to the new episodes. I'll be leaving a link in the description down below, but for now, on to today's episode. You're listening to the Augmented Experience podcast. I'm your host, as usual, Joshua Velas. I'm a student, musician, and a gamer at heart. Join me as I sit down every week to talk about all the latest news in the technology, business, and video game world. I hope you guys enjoy. All right, everybody, welcome back to the show. My name is Joshua Velas. I am your host as usual, and obviously, welcome back to the show. Today's episode 221 of the show, and before we get started, we're going to do a little bit of house cleaning quick because, well, you guys know I like to do it around here, and it only makes sense to do it, so let's just get on with the house cleaning. I do want to say thank you guys for coming back and listening to today's episode. It does mean a lot to me. You guys constantly take time in your days to download these episodes, to share these episodes, to constantly keep letting me know how you feel, whether you like my stupid face or my opinions or not. I greatly appreciate all the love and support and, all the feedback and criticisms. At the end of the day, it's all useful because it helps me know, hey, what I'm doing good, what I'm doing bad, and how can I improve. And I just greatly appreciate that you guys even allow me to have a piece of your time, to talk about some of this stuff, whether it be technology, business, or whatever's going on in the video game space, because there's always something crazy going on there. But I do want to say thank you guys for everything. I love you guys to absolute death. Thank you guys so much for that. And I hope you guys are having a wonderful week so far. But I do also want to say thank you to the Patreon backers as well. Thank you for supporting the show. You guys are greatly appreciated. Love you guys to death. I just realized that's, I know that might come off a bit weird. Just saying, who cares? It's my show. Anyways, I do want to say that let's get on with today's episode. So what are we talking about today? So we're going to I finally did a poll this time. So woohoo. We did a poll on Instagram, and it was unanimous that you guys wanted me to talk about WWDC from Apple and talk about some of the things that happened there. Because to be honest, not only are there some good things that, obviously things that we'll be able to see in the coming months, there's also some things that interest me that could allude to things in the future, especially for Apple. So let's talk about some of these things. So if you guys are aware, or if you're not aware, WWDC is Apple's big software event where they like to announce the latest iOS, like the next iOS version, the next macOS version, updates to the Apple Watch and iPadOS, updates to primarily software and services, but at the same time, they can show hardware, which this time we were graciously graced. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. Apple blessed us with some software or some hardware this time. And it's a pretty good hardware this time. But let's talk about it. So let's talk about iOS 16 to start off. To me, this is one of the things that I like the implications for, especially for the future. One of the main things is with iOS 16 is the idea of iOS now becoming more customizable, which yes, I'm saying this right now. I've used an Android phone, owned multiple Android phones, multiple Android flagships. I can agree. I think it was kind of dumb that Apple didn't have this kind of, actual true customization to your lock screen, to your homepage, that your phone never really felt like it was you. You can adjust your widgets and stuff like that. You could change your wallpaper, but it never really felt like it was a unique experience for you. Like you truly could customize it the way you want. But now with the updates coming to iOS 16, like adding widgets to the lock screen, changing up fonts and text of the clock, or now, your lock screen isn't just the generic clock and tons of notifications. Now it can be what you want it to be. And I think that's very important. I know Apple is not reinventing the wheel here. Let's just be honest here. There's been a thing that's been common for Android for a very long time, but I'm glad Apple is finally making some progress into truly making it, maybe not as walled off as as the walled off garden, and actually allowing you to customize your shaded garden. Or I think probably a better way is it can be a walled garden, but at least they're letting you choose what plants are inside of that garden, So for me, I appreciate that. I think it's really great. Some of the main benefits, and this is something is going to be memed about to death and probably has some dubious implications if we're being honest here. The fact that you could edit, undo, or delete iMessages. And to me, that's pretty funny. People have joked about it. They kind of find it stupid how iOS lets you edit your iMessages before Twitter lets you edit your tweets. And I just find that absolutely hysterical. I'm interested to see how this turns out and what happens from this, because to be honest, I think there's a lot of wild stuff that's going to take place because of this stuff. Let's be real. There's some homies out there going to be doing some thought level activity with this. There's going to be people doing stuff like this. Let's be real, people here. People are going to be doing some dubious stuff with this and sending some wild messages to their friends and be like, hey man, what are you talking about? I don't see this message here, bro. This message doesn't exist. What you talking about? Like doing crazy stuff like that. Let's just be honest here. But another important thing, I'd say, I think the other one would also be this, and this is more of a sensitive topic, where they talked about the idea of people being in abusive relationships, where you're able to determine who has access to your location. And I know this has already been a feature, but it's more of a specific feature that's being added so that if you're in a abusive relationship, you can have it set to changing your locations and stuff like that. And I just find that very important, especially for people that are in situations like that of actual physical abuse and domestic really terrible toxic relationships. I feel like that's a very important feature, and hey, I think that's great. Apple's trying to help people that are in those kind of situations. To be honest, it'll be interesting to see how it works and just see where it goes from there. Transitioning to something maybe a little bit more lighthearted, because I understand that's a very serious matter and it is a very real thing, so we want to acknowledge it and match the tone of what that situation entails. But onto something a little bit more lighthearted, if we're just being honest here. Let's talk about the watchOS 9 update. And to me, this update, I know for a lot of people, they probably don't care. To me, I like this update a lot because I'm a runner. I love running. It's something that has helped me out through some, it's helped me not only my fitness journey, it's what I like to do the most is running. But at the same time, it just helps me to relax and just, unload a lot of stress that is on my head and, on my mind and stuff like that. But the fact that they're adding some updates to running, like better tracking, or primarily one of them was your heart rate, that you can section them off into zones. So like if you're in this zone, like say 148 to 17, let's say 150 or something like that. Our better range probably like say 140 to 152 or like something like that. That's this zone. And then if you elevate higher, it goes into another zone. If it goes higher, you go into another zone. So I think that's just really cool. So you have a better track of where your heart rate is and just measuring all that stuff. But at the same time, another cool thing would be like measuring where it like tells you how long your foot was off the ground when you're running and how long it took to get back to the ground. So I think that's really cool. I also like that they're adding new features to have a better accuracy when it comes to running because of everyone's different forms and how people like to run. So having a better understanding of your form while you're running, I think that's great. The next update we're going to talk about is going to be Apple CarPlay. And this is the one where I alluded to earlier in the introduction, where it does have some implications for the future. For me, this update to Apple CarPlay, not only like somebody even mentioned this, I think it was MKBHD, where it seems like they're really putting Tesla on blast for this one. But it also seems like it's also putting a lot of other car manufacturers on blast, because the way that they're setting up Apple CarPlay now is that depending on your car, a more modern car like 2022, 2023, 2024, like stuff like that going forward, like cars that have just tons of smart displays where, your gauges and everything are all electronic, they're not analog, and all of this display technology in your car will now, once you plug in your iPhone, it just completely turns into what Apple is referring to as like an updated CarPlay, where now CarPlay will just do everything. It will customize your gauges, make it unique to you. Like it will just all be Apple. And to me, not only is this like making a lot of people, I personally feel like what's going to happen is like once car manufacturers start enabling this feature with Apple CarPlay and like more modern cars, not only are a lot of people not really going to rely on the stock software from the car manufacturer, but just going to go straight to Apple CarPlay. But I do feel like this is very alluding to the idea that Apple will eventually make their own car. I think it's realistic that Apple is going to make their own car. Like, I'm just being honest with you guys. This does seem like this is going to be the next transition. Like Apple is already making CarPlay this intuitive. They also updated Maps as well. I'm not going to be surprised if they end up making their own car. Maybe not in the near future. Like I'd say maybe 2024 we see something about the car. Like Apple announces that they are working on a car. I think that's what's going to happen. That they're going to do that they'll announce that they're working on a car, and then I say by 2030 we'll see an Apple car. Best case scenario, by 2030 I think we'll see if Apple finally makes their own car. I'm just saying. But the next update would be iPadOS. And well, let's talk about the Mac first. So besides the hardware, which let's address it, is they announced the M2 chip. So we saw this coming. We knew they were working on this. It was essentially, this was the 2-year anniversary of announcing the transition to Apple Silicon, and they ended up making the M2 chip, which is 30. By comparison, Apple's benchmarks. We'll just wait till people actually get it in hand so we can actually know how powerful it is in comparison to the M1. But the main benefit is that they redesigned the MacBook Air. It now looks more modern. They got rid of the wedge shape and made it more flat. Updated the display. Now it has the notch display with a better webcam, the new speakers. They also updated the 13-inch MacBook Pro. And to me, this device, I feel like, is being shat on a little bit too much, if I'm being honest with you guys, because some people don't. They're like, oh, why is Apple still selling this whole chassis? We just updated specs, bro. And I'm like, haven't you homies been buying the same phone with the same design for, I don't know, 5 years? Like, you guys were doing it with iPhones. Like, what's the problem? Like, here's what my thing. I like the MacBook Air. I don't like that they increased the price. They made it almost the same price as the what's it called, the 13-inch MacBook Pro. People are like, oh, the 13-inch MacBook Pro doesn't make sense, bro. You could buy the 14-inch. And I'm like, look, who cares, bro? I like having options. Like, I just like having options. Because think about it. When I did the numbers, if you were to similar spec an M2 MacBook Air and an M2 13-inch MacBook Pro, both of them 24 gigs of RAM, maxed out, 10 core GPU, 8 core CPU, 1 terabyte SSD. They literally turn out to be the exact same price. The only difference is you get the exact same display on both of them. One will probably have a better webcam than the other, so 720 to a 1080p. The only difference is the 13-inch MacBook Pro will have better battery life. It will have a fan, so if you're going to do more intensive work, since you can't put more RAM on this thing, and you can also have a better processor now, I'm just saying, in the long run, the 13-inch MacBook Pro makes more sense for people that, don't want to drop the fat rack money on an M1 Pro or M1 Max 14-inch MacBook Pro, but at least have a very powerful machine that, is going to last a long time. And whenever you're pushing it under load, it's going to, be able to sustain load, because that's just the reality of it. It's like, yes, I like the MacBook Air. I like that it, great battery life, great performance, the fact that it doesn't need a fan because of thermal performance. But I'm like, still, I'd rather have a fan in there just to keep it cooler whenever I want to push it a little bit harder. And especially if they're the exact same price, bro, I'd rather get the 2 extra hours of battery life, because at the end of the day, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Especially with computers, like, I feel like it's just the society we live in, especially when it comes to tech, is like everybody always wants the latest and greatest. Like, everything has to be futuristic looking, and if it's not, then it's trash or it doesn't have value. And I'm like, look, I guarantee you, when we see the performance benchmarks, we're going to see like, hey, and even money will talk at the end of the day. A lot of people are probably just going to buy the 13-inch MacBook Pro anyways, because it's a design that people like. It's familiar. A lot of people don't like the notch. I still don't like the notch on the MacBook. I think it's stupid. Like, I personally think it's stupid. I'd much rather have a slimmer bezel or something else, because the notch makes zero sense, because there's no Face ID on these damn things. Why the hell put a notch if there's no Face ID? I'm just saying. And it also has a touch bar. So I don't like the touch bar, but there's people that do. So we'll just see what happens. Money will talk at the end of the day. Consumers are going to speak with their wallets. But to me, I'm going to buy a 13-inch MacBook Pro. The M2, 8-core CPU, 10-core GPU, 24 gigs of RAM, 1 terabyte SSD. I'm literally buying that with my education discount and stuff like that for school. And, photography work and stuff like that. But in terms of the updates to macOS, besides like the name being Mammoth or not Mammoth, I'm sorry. It's like, it starts with a V. Like, it literally like slipped off my head, and I feel so stupid that I forgot its name. I feel so bad that I forgot this thing's name. Man, I feel really stupid because, Ventura. There we go. Ventura. There we go. I start with a V. Ventura. My bad. And the benefit is that we're going to get to see this thing. And the main benefit, here's some of the benefits. One, you'll be able to use your iPhone now as a webcam like through wireless signal. So like the second your iPhone, like with these special clamps that they'll sell with Belkin and stuff like that, and third-party vendors, that the second you clip your iPhone onto your MacBook, it instantly just turns into a webcam wirelessly. And I think that's genius. I think it's great, especially with how good the quality is with the iPhones nowadays with their cameras. Hey, that's going to save people so much money and not have to buy a webcam, even though like 1080p webcams on the new MacBooks are already good anyways. But you know, if you want something a little bit higher quality, you can. And also has center stage as well. The other main feature is I like to call it, like they call it like studio, what is it called? It's like studio. I'm brain farting so hard with this, guys. I am so sorry. Here's the idea of it. Essentially, it takes the idea of multitasking, but what it does is that you have all of your like tabs or, you know, other applications they've opened up, and you have them on your left. So, you know, on your left, they're all opened up right there. And then you have your one center, like the one you're using right now, as your center one, like the one in the center. And then you can bring over these other tabs or other applications, and you can make them smaller bubbles or make them bigger. So it allows you to have more on your screen. Essentially, you're getting more out of your display as you're multitasking. And it's beautiful that they're doing that, because that feature is being brought over to the iPad. Now, here's the thing. I still say Apple's been dick teasing us too much, bro. Like, they're talking about they want to keep the iPad separate from the Mac, but they're going to bring Mac features over to the iPad. And at the same time, they don't want to, what's it called? They don't want to make the iPad the Mac, and they don't want to make the Mac the iPad. Like, they want to keep them separate so that you buy both. However, I think it's nice that this feature, let's just call it studio. Let's just call it studio mode. Why not? I'm just calling it, I know it's not what it is. It's called something, man, I keep forgetting what this thing is called, bro. I just feel so stupid. The fact that I feel so bad that I literally forgot what this thing is called. But, oh, Stage Manager. Stage Manager. That's what it is. That they're bringing Stage Manager to the Mac, and it's going to come to the iPad as well. What's kind of stupid is they don't want to bring Final Cut over to the iPad. Like, the iPads have the power now. I get it. They want to keep the video editing software on the Macs because they want you to buy the Macs to edit on video and everything on there. I get it. That makes a lot of sense. Come on, guys. You can easily put Final Cut on the iPads. Just do it. Like, everyone was so mad. They thought, oh my God, they're going to announce Final Cut for the iPad, and then they dick tease us. I'm like, look, bro, they're the ultimate tease. I'm telling you. They really don't want to give us, it, bro. But I feel like eventually they probably will. We just got to keep waiting, guys. But let's talk about the iPad now. Another nice feature that's being added to the iPad is a thing called reference mode, where it's more, think about it like this. It's allows you to use your iPad in a more color accurate way. So it automatically sets the display to be more color accurate for photo work, video work. And I think that's beautiful, because to me, the iPad has always been a very useful tool for artists. It has been a useful tool for mobile videography or mobile photography. People that just like editing with an Apple Pencil, because you can just tweak the dials yourself and it's more accurate for some reason. Well, it makes sense as a pencil, so you can make it easier. So you can just point where you want to edit. And it's also nicer too, especially for drawing. People that I still say, if you're an artist, an iPad will be your best friend, especially with the ProMotion display, the Apple Pencil 2, and the fact that adding a reference mode, I think it's gonna be great for a lot of people that love doing mobile editing. I think that's gonna be a great feature. But outside of all of that, they did not show anything about the VR AR headset. I think we'll probably see something like that at the iPhone event at the end of the year. But some of the key takeaways, besides the M2 chip, which I think is going to be very important, I think we're gonna have to see some performance benchmarks once we get to that point. We're just gonna have to see some performance benchmarks when they come out next month, or when they start shipping next month. So they start selling them and then shipping them. I think the implications for Apple CarPlay do show signs that Apple will eventually make their own car and become a car manufacturer as well, which only makes logical sense. They want to expand their portfolio. It's only logical sense that a company that's one of the biggest tech companies on the planet would want to expand their portfolio into a market that they want to compete in, which makes sense. They want to give Tesla a run for their money. They want to take a little bit of Elon's cut of the pie, But I think the updates to macOS are great. I think they're going to be very useful for Mac owners, and I think they're going to be very happy. I think iPad owners are going to be very happy with Stage Manager and these other software updates coming. Apple Watch users, hey, if you like running, I think you're going to love some of these new features being added and tracking for running. For iOS users, like people that have iPhones, like for me, I think it's going to be great. That's going to be awesome, like seeing a true customizable iPhone. Like, yes, it may not be like 100% how it is on Android, but at least some new flavor in there, and taking a little bit of inspiration from Google's like from Android 12 on Pixels, like where it's unique and customizable, like to you, like it's unique to you. And I think that's great, especially for our phones. Like probably one of the most personal devices everyone owns is their smartphone. Like they want to make it unique for them. And so I'm excited to see where this turns out. Hopefully it's not a buggy launch for all of these things, and I hope it's a very smooth one. 9 times out of 10, it's probably going to be buggy, homie. Let's be real. Like iOS updates tend to be pretty buggy right off the bat. So, they're in open beta right now. So if you want to use it, you can. I don't put this on your main device. I'm just saying this right now, guys. Don't be fools. Don't put this on your main device. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I wanted to take a little bit of time with this one, well, because the event happened at the time I was recording. The event happened the day prior. So, it happened on Monday. We record on Tuesday. Episode goes on Wednesday. So here we are. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, whether you like a lot of these features coming or if there's something that I missed that you want me to talk about, maybe in another episode. But thank you guys so much for your time. Thank you guys for allowing me to even have a piece of your days, because like I said, I don't deserve any of this. I really don't. I just appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity to just chat and just talk about a lot of the stuff that I really care about and love. But let me know what you guys think. I hope you guys have yourselves a wonderful week and weekend, guys. Please be safe out there. The world is still a weird place, and just continue to be kind and courteous to those around you, because, again, the world's a weird place, and the only way things will get better is if we just, try to be a little more positive, but also realistic. Like, just be kind and respectful to those around you, and try to help people in any way you can. And try not to, try to be more selfless and less selfish, But I love you guys to death. Hope yourselves have a wonderful week and weekend. I know this is going to be a fun week because, well, this is my 3rd week at the internship, so I'm super excited to see how this turns out. You also get paid this week, so, I'm very happy about that. I can't wait to see that first paycheck. But I love you guys to death. Be safe. And as always, don't do anything dumb. And I will see you guys next week. Bye, guys.
Hey there. Thank you for listening to today's episode. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day and listening to today's episode. If you're interested in supporting the show, whether it be financially, clicking the follow button, or just sharing the episode, it all works for me, guys. Thank you guys so much for your time, and I love you guys to death.